Okay, we're now recording. Okay, now we lost the slide again. There we go. All right. For those of you that might be watching the recording later, we apologize. We had some technical issues, but we just started on slide 5, so you didn't miss a whole lot. So other key activities include conducting outreach, providing training and technical assistance, removing barriers, developing coalitions, encouraging citizen participation, and keeping policymakers informed about disability issues. And we accomplish our goals through activities carried out by the staff that I mentioned earlier, and partnering with other established agencies and organizations, and then also through subgrants to develop and implement projects that address innovative ways to fill service gaps and develop infrastructure. And that is why you are all here today. Next slide. All right. Everything we do is based off of our 5-year state plan. And we're actually, hopefully most of you have gotten the survey. We're in the process of planning our new 5-year state plan. So if you have not gotten our survey, or if you've gotten it and haven't had a chance to fill it out yet, please do so. Everything, all the information that we get informs our 5-year state plans. So the goals and objectives in this current 5-year state plan were informed by our last statewide survey and stakeholder input. So we are mandated by the federal award. Patricia would like me to repeat the other activities. Okay. Oops. Yes, okay. Catherine and I are texting back and forth. So other key activities include conducting outreach, providing training and technical assistance, removing barriers, developing coalitions, encouraging citizen participation, and keeping policymakers informed about disability issues. Okay. So onto the 5-year state plan. Excuse me. So as I mentioned, our 5-year state plan is based on gaps in services identified through statewide needs assessments, and are based on areas of emphasis that are mandated in the DD Act. The DD Act tells us what areas of emphasis that we can focus on and what we can do with our money. And the DD Council has some unique guidelines on what we can and cannot do with our money. The areas of emphasis are quality assurance, early intervention, employment, transportation, community supports, childcare, education, health, recreation, and housing. So the DD Act also allows the state councils to determine the areas of emphasis upon which to focus. So what we do is we take the top 3 areas of need based on the input that we get from the 5-year state plan, and then the council approves the goals and activities based on the areas of most need. While we would always love to serve everybody and do everything, we are mandated to provide education and activities that address new and innovative ways that people with IDD can be fully included in their community. So that's one thing, keyword that you need to keep in mind, that we cannot fund direct services, we cannot fund things that are ongoing. We are mandated to look at education and activities to address new and innovative ways. So our job is not to maintain the status quo. Our job is to reach out and look at further training or further infrastructure. I'm sorry, I'm getting a text. Amy is in the waiting room. 1 sec, there's Amy, thank you. Okay. All right, there we go. I sure do miss my big screen sometimes. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, we will continue on to grant conditions and procedures. Perfect. All right. So grant conditions and procedures are basically, it's a summary of information contained in our grants procedural manual. So you guys, anybody that's awarded or any applicants are expected to read and comply with the regulations, assurances, guidelines, and requirements as they relate to the application, acceptance, and use of the state of Nevada and federal funds. And those are the NGCDD Grants Procedural Manual, the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations, and the State Administrative Manual. So those that have also received awards from us in the past, you will remember it was a much easier process. We now have regulations from the state that are mandated as our designated state agency that we have to comply with as well. So I will go over those a little bit later. All right, next slide. Okay, who may apply? So to apply for a project grant from the NGCDD, an organization must be a nonprofit entity, for-profit corporation, educational institution, state agency, or a local government agency performing or anticipating performing a function relevant to program goals of the council. Corporations must be registered with the Nevada Secretary of State and licensed to do business in Nevada. All applicants are required to have a Duns and Bradstreet or a Duns number and must be a registered vendor with the state of Nevada prior to the award going through. So when we submit things to the state, if there is not the state of Nevada vendor registration number, they will not accept the application. There are excluded parties, and those are located in that document there, and I'll also send it out to you as well. But basically any list of debarred parties can be found on the, it's www.sam.gov.sam website. And then entities requesting funds for projects which have a federal, state, or local mandate to be delivered by the applicant organization. So also individuals, partnerships, and unincorporated entities are not eligible. Are there any questions on that or anything I've gone over so far? All right, great. Next slide. Okay, general conditions. So the award amounts are subject to the availability of appropriated funds, which I mentioned earlier, and that has to do with our federal and state award. The project period and reimbursement of funds is based on the federal fiscal year of October 1st through September 30th. All activities and requests for reimbursement must be completed within this time period, as we do run on the federal fiscal year. Grant projects must be designed to result in replicable, sustainable systems change by demonstrating effective approaches to a particular need of the target population, affecting long-term changes in policies and practices, and/or building capacity or expanding the scope of effective programs. Grantees must provide quarterly progress and financial reports in the format provided by us, and we will go over that, in addition to a year-end summary. And projects must focus primarily on people with developmental disabilities, their families, and their support networks. So as I mentioned before, there will be monthly and quarterly reporting requirements. Another requirement is grantees must acknowledge the grant award on all written materials. Grantees are not allowed to lobby, but they can educate. So, and this is always kind of a sticky situation, and anybody that would like further clarification on this, I'd be happy to provide that. But basically, lobbying is any attempt to directly influence a politician or public official to vote one way or another. Educating, however, is a mandate of councils under the DD Act. And we are mandated to educate, advise, or inform politicians or public officials to assist them in improving the services and opportunities available to individuals with IDD and their families. A very fine line that gets confusing, but like I said, it's a very strict line, and lobbying is a big no-no. So if anybody has any questions about that later, I'll be happy to answer them. We do reserve the right to withdraw the request for proposal and to accept or reject in whole or in part any or all proposals received, to require modification to any part of accepted proposals, including the budget and the amount requested, and to waive any irregularities in the proposed project. Also, all grants must meet our accessibility standards, And NGCDD decisions regarding grant awards are made by the council and are final. Okay, fiscal conditions. So I also mentioned we operate on the federal fiscal year, but also within the state fiscal year. On any given day, we're operating within 3 different calendars: the regular calendar, the state fiscal calendar, and the federal fiscal calendar. But our awards are based on the federal fiscal year. But we also, like I said, work within the state fiscal year. And so in order to ensure proper obligation of funds, we do have an expectation that awarded applicants will spend down approximately 60% of their award by June 30th of the calendar year in which the grant was awarded. And this is to ensure that the state fiscal year ends June 30th. So this is to ensure that the state isn't caught off guard by a lot of reimbursements at the end. However, we know that there are projects and sometimes things happen. So one of the things that we always do is, and we tell our grantees, is if you run into an issue, contact us because we can help. If we wait till the last minute, things don't happen because we have to run more things through the state now, and that takes a while. Funds may not be used for capital expenditures, which are fixed assets like purchasing land or buildings, durable equipment, which would be computers, cell phones, etc. Funds may also not be used to provide direct services or purchase food items. Okay, and there is an entire section on this in the NGCDD grants manual starting on page 4. So again, this is a very brief summary of everything that is in the NGCDD grants manual that will be available for you guys to review. Next slide, please. Okay, applications must be submitted in DidiSweet with signed budget assurances page by the time and date indicated on the NOFA. Incomplete or late applications will not be considered. The application consists of an executive summary, the impact on people with IDD, description of the organization's qualifications, a detailed narrative about the proposed project, an overview of the project activities, timelines, expected accomplishments, cost projections, and state and federal assurances. I know it sounds like a lot, it sounds scary, it's not. I promise you it's not as scary as it sounds. Next slide. Okay, a note on DidiSweet. So I'm going to ask Catherine to stop screen sharing in just a few minutes because I am going to go into kind of a summary of stuff that I have on DidiSweet. Oops, sorry, too soon, Catherine. Hold on. All right, so when applying for a grant, you must create a login and join for, or create your own organization. I'll wait till Catherine, there we go. You cannot join our organization. You must create a login and join or create your own. You must make sure that your organization doesn't already exist in DidiSweet. For those of you that have been with us for a while, you may already have an existing organization in there. So if you find that your organization is already on file, but maybe the listed staff has left, log in and you can file a technical assistance request or reach out to us for guidance. So there's the DidiSweet Users Guide on the grant funding information page of our website, and then I'm also going to go into it right now. Cassie asked, are there requirements or restrictions on the 25% match? Match can be provided in kind, or it can be provided in actual dollars. So are there any further questions, or do you have more specific questions, Cassie? If so, I'd be happy again to answer them at the end. Okay, so Catherine, if you want to stop screen sharing for a second. Okay, I'm going to take over my screen share. And document, no, where is it? Okay, one sec, guys. is it? No. No. For some reason, it is not allowing me to share this one. Where is it? Apologize, guys. That is not it. Hold on, I cannot share the. Aha, there we go. I had too many things open on my screen. Let me get out of this. Okay, can you all see the DidiSweet user guide that I have up on my screen? It might be a little small, I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so this is a user guide that's also available on our website. And we have a special page on our website for grantees and funding. So you can go into our website and find this. But this is a very nice kind of little guide for grantees. It talks about information for new grantees. It is completely accessible. And except for the new users and organizations overview PDF. But it talks about when applying for a grant, what you must do before creating a new organization, what to do if DidiSweet says your account is on file. And then it'll take you through applicant grantee organization dashboard. So it takes you through tasks, how to submit the application, and then it has some nice visuals here that are also have alt text on them. So those are accessible. So like I said, this will be available to you guys to view before you go on and you submit a request to apply on DidiSweet. And if you guys have any questions during this time, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. So again, this is just a nice kind of user guide to get you started. And then it talks about applying for notice of funds available, request for proposals, how to do that. And it takes you through, you know, what to do, what to choose. So it's a nice little guide. I'm not going to go through it all, but just so that you know that it's available to you guys. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And now I'm going to try and take you guys to DidiSweet to show you real quick what it looks like. So let's see, where am I screen sharing? Nope.
Maybe we'll go look at those and see. Oh shit.
All right.
So
hopefully everybody should see now DidiSweet and the login page to it.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that have been on before, it looks different.
Oh, that's great. Great. So
it's much, it's more user friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they canceled it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think if you just remember, if you're not speaking, if you could just mute your line, please.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think you're doing well. Good.
Mary's.
Thank you.
There we go. There we go. All right. So I'm going to take you through my account, my login. It will look a little bit different, but you'll see that on the page here, our notice of funds available are posted. And then so when you go in under grant seekers, you will log in or sign up if you need a new account and go in through there. But I am just going to take you through on my end what you're looking at for the application. So you'll see there, don't look at the others there, but you'll see we've got integrated employment, public safety and emergency awareness, and informed health choices. Now on the NOFA, when you look at the actual Word document, there is a link. It says apply for this grant. Each one of those links will take you directly to the grant that you want to apply for in DidiSweet. Okay? So I'm just going to take you through, for example, we're just going to go into this first one here. And again, this is not what you will see. I just wanted to take you through on what you'll be required to fill out. So we've got our NOFA information, the sections, and this will come up for you. So under here, we have the project description, the NGCDD, developmental disabilities definition, the application information that you'll need, terms and conditions, and then outline questions, or this is where you're going to be, putting in your application information. So at this time, I am going to, you guys don't need to remember this, but I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to say a code, and that is 619. So again, you guys don't need to remember that, and I'm asking you, Scout's honor, not to tell anybody who was not able to be on here. When they go back and view the recording, they'll need to give me that number just as an assurance that they did attend the recording to make it fair for everybody. So no cheating, no giving anybody else that number. Okay, so on here these are the outline questions. So the goal and objective you're applying for, financial or fiscal management. So just some basic questions on risk management. Federal civil rights. We also want to make sure that your organization has a policy on non-discrimination and a formal system for complying with federal civil rights requirements. If not, please explain. And then you'll be giving us an executive summary, a detailed narrative, the expected outcomes of your project and how they correlate to the expected outcomes listed in the grant description. I can't emphasize this enough. We want to make sure everything that you guys submit relates back to our 5-year state plan and what's in the NOFA. What's in the NOFA are the expected outcomes that we expect from your project. So those need to be mentioned. You need to also make sure that it shows that you actually looked through our 5-year state plan, that you know what we're working toward. The next one will be a timeline of activities, proposed activities. I know that proposed timelines they're fluid, they're ever changing, and that's fine. We just want something basic to go off of. And then what your qualifications are. If you have received a grant from us in the past, we will need you to provide the name of the project, the year, and the specifics on what you accomplished. That would make you a good candidate to receive another one. And then also just a brief description on how you will evaluate the impact of effectiveness of your grant. That's one of the other things that the feds are really, really, really looking for, is they're not just looking for numbers. And DD councils aren't designed to have big numbers because we do not do direct service. When we do our federal reporting, we do have to report on numbers, but we have to look at the overall impact. And not just the impact of the outcomes or the outputs, but the impact of the outcomes. So for example, even in our own 5-year state plan, we're working on transportation. So the goal of transportation in our 5-year state plan is to look at moving systems forward. The output is that there's hopefully going to be a report, a white paper done, but then we have to report on the outcome of that report. So what? They don't care. We wrote a report. What happened? Were there systems changed that were in place? You know, did we educate policymakers? Was anything done? So that's really what we want and are going to be expecting from you guys as well. Now we know that it's not always easy to judge that within a 1-year period. We understand that. We also send out follow-up surveys to past grantees to gauge impact past that deadline. But there has to be an ultimate goal. There has to be okay, but so what? You know, we need that backup information on the outcomes and how it improved the lives of people, not just, okay, we did this and we did this. We also need information on sustainability. So we'll talk about this a little bit more in the PowerPoint, but sustainability must show how proposed concepts will not only survive, but grow after council funding ends. So a lot of people think, well, sustainability is just funding. It is not necessarily just funding. There should be a plan in place to sustain a project once funding has ended. You know, who are you going to outreach to? Who are you going to, you know, what will the effects of this be sustainability-wise after council funding ends? And then also, this is new this year. You know, we have discussed a lot on accessibility. We have accessibility mandate in our 5-year state plan, and we want to put our money where our mouths are. And so we are requiring grantees to also be compliant with accessibility standards. So make sure that you explain how you will make sure that you comply with those. If you do not know accessibility or accessibility standards, that is available. We have an accessibility page on our website, and there is a lot of information on there. We realize that not everybody is going to be fully, you know, on the same level of accessibility compliance, but there are a lot of things that you guys can do and work toward knowing that the information that gets out there will be shared. And in the past, we've done a lot of great work, but then council staff have had to go back and change things to make them accessible to the public. So since these are federal funds, we are federally mandated to make sure that information is provided in an accessible format and is equally accessible to all individuals with IDD. So we are requiring our grantees to do that as well. And then targeted disparity under underserved populations. This is always another one that gets maybe a little bit sticky for grantees. We want to look at how your project will identify and positively affect targeted disparity or subpopulations within the disability community. So you have to take that one step further. So again, looking at the so what. So those targeted disparities, look at within those populations, those that are vulnerable to disparities. So for example, health, education, employment. So for an example would be individuals with IDD and their families who are not fluent in English and therefore have increased barriers to accessing information and supports needed to make informed choices. So you take that minority or that subpopulation and then you dig deeper. And that's what we want for targeted or underserved populations. Okay. And then attachments. This is our grants manual and then our lovely budget and assurances form. I'm going to see if I can open this up. I don't want to do that. Why is that like that? I think I might have it up on my computer. Aha, I do. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I will take this time to stop it. Are there any questions? All right. Clear as mud, right? All right, I am going to try and share now. Hold on. Catherine, I'm going to actually go in and share the assurances and budget form real quick. Thank you. It takes a village here, people. All right. So hopefully you guys are now looking at the assurances and budget form on your screen. Now this is where I said, those of you that have been with us, you know, before, remember our process was much easier. It's not anymore. The state put out requirements that we're mandated to follow. Having said that, staff did spend a ton of time on rewording this application because of course we made it aware to the state that their applications were completely non-accessible and we would not be producing those or putting those out. So what we have done for you guys is put it down in a simpler form, and then we are going to take the information that you submit and put it into the crazy unrecognizable state forms that have Excel documents embedded and the formulas don't advance, and it's just, yeah. So I want to thank my staff for helping us kind of make sure this makes a little bit more sense. So this is the information, and you know, again, I struggled with, when you're filling in information, how to make that accessible. Because I am working from home, I did not have access to my Adobe Acrobat Pro and PDF. So if anybody that wants to apply needs help filling out this form, it's accessible to read, but it might not be fully accessible to input the information, even though I have gone through and made sure the tables are in proper reading order. If anybody needs help or accessibility combination, yell out. I've tried to, since this is a very long form, I've tried to make it easy for you guys, although you're required to read and understand all of the lovely wording in here. The things that you need to fill out are in bold. So, for example, the general information, organization, project director name, yada, yada, yada. The indirect rates, we cannot provide more than 10% of the total award for indirect rates, and we do have a memo if anybody would like that. I know sometimes, like, you know, when we work with University of Nevada, Reno, they have a higher indirect rate, so we're definitely able to provide a memo. Let me see, I saw the chat come up real quick. It's popping up. There's questions everywhere. Hold on one sec. Catherine, I cannot see the chat, so can you maybe hop on, and if there's a question, just jump on in?
It's actually just Amy saying thank you for doing the state forms.
You are welcome.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no. I have experience with the state forms, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we didn't want to put you guys through enough torture. Well, you guys are being tortured enough as it is, but we didn't want to make it even more difficult because, yeah. But I have already let the state know that their application forms are not accessible and not in compliance. So basically, general terms and conditions. You'll see incorporated documents here. There are, because we change things around, there are like sections B and section D that have a line through them. Those will be provided on the award. Jen wants to know, for the indirect rate line, should that be in percentages or a dollar value? That's a great question. You can put it in percentages on here, that's fine. And then at the bottom, you will need to sign and date it. And then I'm not going to go through all this, but these are all the general conditions and the assurances that you all need to read and be able to dictate back in your sleep. There are some bolded things in here that are of importance that I think kind of really need to be taken a look at. So, because if you're like me, I just fly through some of these. Okay, section B is the grant application for the narrative that is submitted in DidiSweet. Section C is the budget. These are budget requirements. I suggest that you take a look at these, and also these are the same ones that are in our NGCDD grants manual. I'm not going to go over them all right now. It talks about what the subrecipient agrees, the department agrees, both parties agree, financial reporting requirements. But there are some requirements on here that are really important to remember, you know, identifying the source of funding. Requests for reimbursement and accompanying documentation need to be submitted to us. And I'll go over those a little bit later. So, but I just want to kind of show you this form. And then here in the bold, and I know bold is not fully accessible. I tried going around and also including an asterisk in it, and I tried like 5 different ways, and this is what we've got for right now. So you know that I realize that bold is not fully accessible. But it's still on there. So personnel total, you'll put the total fringe costs for all employees, total salary costs, and then in here for the names and titles, you'll just enter in the information in these little boxes here. And then you can copy and paste this section for any additional employees. Then we've got in-state travel total. This was a fun adventure last year as well with the things. These are all new to us. We did not ask all of these things previously. The state is now requiring them. Hopefully I've broken them down to they're at least a little bit more understandable. So if you'll see right here, if you go down to, remember, all fees must be in GSA rate. There's the title, destination, of justification of the trip. So you need to fill one of these out for each trip. And then some of these areas will be left blank. We understand that. So if you're not flying, obviously you don't need to fill in the airfare part. If you're not doing flying, you're not going to need to do the baggage. So just kind of take it, and that's okay if things are left blank. And then you'll see here, I do have kind of a little formula. So in the parentheses, so for an example, round trip airfare, you'll do the cost per trip times the number of trips times the number of staff, and that equals the total. Okay. And again, you can copy and paste the above for additional trips, and pretty much the same formulas for operating expenses. I've kind of broken it down in different formulas, and then we have to have justifications. And then, so again, these are the different categories. They're all the same in the state budget assurances. If you have any questions on this process, please reach out to me and let me know. So I just wanted to show you guys. And then here, indirect total, there's another place you can just put the percentage. And then what we're asking is that you take the budget totals. So that would be G plus H for the numbers, add them up. And then again, more, it goes on and on and on. So anything you see in bold, please fill out. And then also, you'll see here, you just need to fill out your name for the business associate addendums. Any questions on that right now? So as you can see, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. You can also contact Ellen Marquez, our executive assistant. She's helped me put together these forms as well, so she can help you. So any other questions on this? Nope. Okay. All right. I know we're getting towards the end. I'm going to try and whip along here really quick. Okay, Catherine, if you want to go back to the screen sharing for the PowerPoint. Okay, we can go out of DidiSweet, but oh, one thing I did want to mention, sometimes DidiSweet gets a little funky. I suggest that you download the questions into a Word document, put them in there, you can edit them around, and then copy, and then you can paste it back into DidiSweet, and then please, 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 please don't wait until the last minute to submit. Sometimes DidiSweet goes down, or there are other complications or issues. Okay. All right, so application review. When we review the applications for completion, at a minimum, we're looking for understanding of background goals, expected outcomes, and objectives, and scope of the project. Sorry, Catherine, I think we're on the next slide for application review. There we go. Thank you, Catherine. A huge shout out, because we're just totally tag teaming each other here. So thank you, Catherine. We're also looking at sufficiency of timelines, the rationale and appropriateness of budget. So all costs must be reasonable, necessary, allocable, and consistent and allowable. We're looking at project sustainability and the capacity to achieve results demonstrated by past performance if you have had a past grant with us, and then staffing patterns. Awarding procedures. We have the right to make change requests during grant negotiations. Next slide, please. Sorry, Catherine. There we go. The applicant organization has the right to accept or deny those changes prior to the grant award. So what will happen is proposals will be reviewed by the NGCDD Evaluations Committee for recommendation to the full council for final approval and submitted to the state for then fiscal review. So you guys are invited and encouraged to attend our meetings. The evaluation committee will review them first, and then the final award will be at our September council meeting. And looking here, September, I don't remember when our September council meeting is. It is set for September 3rd. And then our evaluation committee meeting is set for August 12th at 2:30. All of our committee meetings can be found on our website under the calendars of upcoming events. So we highly encourage grantees to attend those so that if there's any questions, then the grantees are able to answer them. Grantees are not able to speak during the evaluation or full council meetings unless it's during public comment or unless they're asked a specific question on the grant. So proposals, like I said, will be reviewed, and then once everything goes through the council approval, then it will be sent to state fiscal, and then we'll let you know when the final application is approved. And then once the final application is approved, we will have to submit everything in that crazy state application form, but it's the same information. We're just going to plug it in. You guys won't have to do anything, just sign it, and then we'll send it in. So after the award, the NDCDD projects manager, who is Catherine, will contact you to schedule a meeting and review grant reporting and other requirements. And we are looking at doing grant reporting in DidiSweet. So again, that will be another training that we'll let you guys do. It is the responsibility of the grantee to notify all pertinent parties of the responsibilities entailed by their acceptance of the award. Okay, reporting requirements. Thanks for hanging in there with us, guys. We're almost done here. So, Catherine, do you want to talk a little bit about the quarterly reports, or would you like me to just go on through here?
You know what? For the sake of time, you're more than welcome to just continue through.
All righty. Oh, we lost our slide again. Okay. Again, we'll be going Catherine will be going over all of this with you upon the award, but just know that quarterly reports are due on the 10th of the month following the end of the quarter, and it's going to be doing via the grantee project reporting form. That's going to be changed now into DidiSweet. A report submitted after the deadline without prior consent will be noted as late in our summaries. Catherine does take all of your project reports and then puts them into summaries that we provide to the evaluation committees. The evaluation committees may make recommendations based on grantee progress if they feel it's needed. So please, 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 if your report is going to be late, please let Catherine know. Otherwise, we do mark it as late on our summary to the evaluation and then full council. Personal stories from grant recipients will be required at the end of the grant, along with consumer satisfaction surveys and a end of year summary. So we do all of the templates for you. So we will give you the templates for the satisfaction surveys, for the reporting format, all of that. You just need to fill it in. Okay? And then just, I'm not going to really go through all the massive things on data reporting, but basically what I mentioned before is we don't just need outputs, we need outcomes. We need, okay, so what? So mass dissemination of information, so like the mass dissemination of email or on Facebook. It can be counted towards specific number data. However, we need a follow-up mechanism to be conducted and reported that gauges the impact from that activity. So I'm going to relate back to it, not in our state, but one council one time put up a billboard that went over the freeway, and 5,000 people saw it, and so that they put in their federal report that 5,000 people were educated on certain needs of individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities. Of course, the feds came back and said, yeah, no. We need a follow-up mechanism in place to judge the impact of that. Okay. I mentioned consumer satisfaction surveys. They will be required for each grant activity, and you can forward the originals to us for reporting performance measures, and then, or also you can, and Catherine will explain that to you as well when she does her thing, but you can either hold on to them or you can submit them as you go. But they're a very important part of our data collection and also a very important part of the outcomes, so we can gauge impact. You're required on any printed material, websites, anything like that, to put an acknowledge or disclaimer using our funds, and the project or the disclaimer is also in our grants manual. And I know we're running out of time, so stick with me, guys. Payment of funds. Okay, so those are made monthly. So when the grants are awarded, you get payment of funds are made monthly by way of reimbursement based on actual expenditures. There is a request for reimbursement, which is also called an RFR, and when your grant is awarded, Ellen will be sending those out to you. And those are based on your grant award and what your budget included. So backup is required monthly for, and also the requests for reimbursement are required monthly for the duration of the grant. Even if there are months where no funds were requested, we still need that. The requests for reimbursements are made no later than 15 days following the end of the month the expenses incurred. We need to have supporting records of grant expenditures that have sufficient detail. And also we do need to, there'll be a thing on there on the reimbursement or on the RFR that includes the match that you're providing each month. So we will need backup of that as well. And then we reserve the right to withhold reimbursements pending project audits or required compliance. And as I mentioned before, if say for some reason the federal government shut down or decided we couldn't award things anymore, all of our funds are subject to availability of funds or appropriated funds. Okay. Budget revisions. So requests must be submitted in writing to the NGCD Executive Director based on the following. So if it's 10% or less of the category, the grantee can transfer funds after sending notification. If it's greater than 10% of the category, you must receive prior approval. If a revision seeks to change the scope of activities of the grant or additional or decreased state funding is needed or federal funding, the grantee must receive prior approval. We have to go through the state level. And then requests must indicate the categories affected, how the revisions will impact or benefit the intent or objectives, and why the funds are available for transfer. Any requests made after the last 60 days of the project period may not be approved. Auditing. Grants are subject to inspection and audit, and it is the responsibility of the grantee to know and comply with all audit requirements listed in the grants manual, and well as maintain and assure the safekeeping of all project records for a minimum of 3 years. Okay, grant completion provisions. Okay, so at the end, or at the completion of the grant period, the NGCDD and the grantee agree that the following provisions survive termination until satisfied. So basically you guys agree that the grantee will account for and present to the NGCDD all claims for expenses. We will pay those properly accrued, I'm having trouble speaking now, and presented expenses as allowed by the framework of the grant. And all of these are located in the assurances sections, the budget and assurances page and in the grants manual. So I am not going to review these for the sake of time, but you will be, they'll be available to you guys in your grants manual. Okay, next. Final thoughts. Okay, my sincere recommendation is to use the NGCDD grants manual and the grants funding information page on our website. There are questions that can be answered on there before you go to staff, and it just saves a lot of time for everybody. Complete your applications and reports thoughtfully. There are some times when grantees just copy and paste the same information quarter after quarter after quarter. That's not going to cut it. And Catherine will go back and request further information from you guys, and so will the evaluation committee. So be thoughtful when you're submitting your reports. Don't just use the same information. Again, we really have to show outcomes. If we don't continue to show outcomes, we don't continue to get funded, and you guys don't get funding. Basically that simple. And then people with IDD are the ones that suffer. So again, also make sure that you communicate with us before issues become big problems. You're always welcome to attend committee or council meetings to hear our reports on your progress. And we're here to help you guys. So no, we're not going to do your work for you, but we're not mean and scary feds or state agencies that won't respond. We're here to help you. We want you to be as successful as you can be. So please feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to, but we cannot do your application for you, but we're happy to, provide input and guidance based on what we've given you. And then along the way too, we're always here to help. So at that point. I'm at 5 minutes over, but if there are any questions, I will take those right now. And I know I went through this stuff really fast. So if there's any questions or discussion, please let me know.
Hi, Carrie, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So for capacity building, did you say that an appropriate project might be to request funds in support of training so that we could more effectively serve our participants?
Yes, funds can be requested for training. A note on training, you know, we do training a lot. We just have to make sure that, you know, it's not, it doesn't go into direct service, and that the outcomes have to pertain to what the NOFA is requesting. And then also in your application, you know, showing, okay, what are the proposed outcomes of that training, and how will you see that those are potentially met by that training? Does that make sense?
I think so. So in terms of employment, if we're increasing our staff capacity to provide job development services, would that be considered too close to direct services provision?
No, no. What I look at as direct service is I'm going and I'm meeting one-on-one with one person directly and guiding them through something. So I know it's, again, it's the same thing as like lobbying and educating. It is a fine line, but I'm happy to, if when you're writing through it and going through it, if you have, you know, questions, you can contact me and I'm happy to maybe talk you through it. Again, I can't tell you what to put down in the application, but I'm happy to kind of talk you through the process.
Thank you.
Hi, Carrie. I also had a question. I was wondering if you are able to apply for more than one grant, if the programs and projects and initiatives kind of meet those different initiatives, if they're applicable for multiple grants?
Oh, very good question. Yes, you are welcome to. We've actually had grantees in the past that have applied and been awarded for more than one goal or objective. The council likes to see diversity and things spread around. Again, the council will make the final determination on awards, but yes, we have had that in the past and you are more than welcome to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Catherine, real quick, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you before. Can you just take a screenshot of who we've got on the call so we don't have to go through roll call and attendance?
I'm sorry. Your microphone broke up there, but I believe you said to take a picture, and I have done so.
See, that's why I love my projects manager. Thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments? I know that was a lot of information packed into 1 hour. So the NOFAs are officially posted in DidiSweet. As a reminder, you guys, if you're going to apply, you will need to sign up in DidiSweet. I apologize, the reflection on my glasses is distracting here, but here we go. Now I can't see, but that's better. So as you do, we will get notifications in DidiSweet to admit you. So if there are questions or anything about that, please again let us know. But we will be going through, the staff will get emails when you guys are applying, and then if there's something wrong or something that's off, we will let you guys know. Anything else? Everybody still awake? All right, great. Well, then if there's no more questions or discussions, I will go ahead and end this training. Again, I just want to say thank you. I'm very excited that we had so many people that were able to be on the call today. I'm also very, very excited that in the last several years, the council has really been able to get more diversity in our applications. It used to be the same, what we call the usual suspects over and over again. So we really like providing those opportunities for different agencies that are actually in touch with the community, you know, to really make an impact and a difference. So we really appreciate that. We also want to take a look at, when we're awarding grants, you know, to look at the diversity of the state, making sure, you know, that we have applications from different areas of the state. So if there's anything, again, that we can do in the application process, please let us know. And then those that do submit the applications, you guys will hear from us if there's any issues. And then we're always here to help. So thank you guys very much. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and I am looking forward to reading all of your applications. So thank you again very much for coming. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.